Hello everybody and welcome to Propel's Virtual Garage. I'm your host Russ Latonia, coming to you from Siesta Key, Florida, location of our North American Service Center. Today's video we're going to do how to change a tube and how to change a tire on the Endeavor S and the Endeavor Pro. We're going to start with a rear wheel, as this would be the one that's more difficult, even though it's really not. But the front would be the same as the rear, except you don't have to deal with the belt. But all the tube and tire changing parts will be the same. So with that, let's get right into it. First thing you'll need is a 17 millimeter. You'll also need a 3 millimeter hex head. But for now, all we need is the 17 to get this wheel off. Step one, take off the wheel. Okay, we remove the nut. Put it someplace you'll remember. And all we do is simply pull on the wheel as we turn it forward. This helps the belt disengage from it. So I'm pushing out with my thumb on the axle while I'm pulling out with my fingers. So in with the thumb and out with your fingers while rolling it forward. Very simple. And you'll see she comes right off. Just like that. Okay? Now let's take this over to the bench and we'll show you how to actually change the tire and the tube. Okay, so here we are at the bench with the wheel. You can see the sprocket on the other side. This is a good time to inspect your sprocket. Make sure you have no debris in there. Make sure you don't have any chipped teeth or anything. You just want to take a good look at it. Anytime you have something apart to do service on one thing, always look at the parts around it. It's just a good time for an inspection while you have the board apart, while your brain is in the game and the whole bit. So that's just a little something I like to do. So we have the sprocket, the tire, tube, wheel. What we're going to do now is we're going to start with the 3 millimeter and loosen up the 5 lug nuts. You'll notice I like to use hand tools on PVG. Some of the hardware can be delicate. We try and get the highest grade hardware we can with these boards. I know a lot of Eastgate companies tend to use softer alloys and stuff, and you get a lot of stripping, especially with these hex heads. So I've kind of been trained to keep the power tools away. I like to do them by hand so I can feel everything. It doesn't take that long. This stuff is so simple. You know, there's really no need for a power tool in my opinion, but that's just a personal preference. Do it however you want. Anyway, let's get these loose. And let's remove them. Okay. Now that that's apart, first thing I like to do is take out the center star. Okay. Sometimes the whole rim will come with it. That's fine too, because I'm just taking that out to make this a little easier to pop out. And all this stuff is exactly that. It just pops right out. See? Just pull it right out. If you like to keep your center star in there for the heck of it, that's fine too. Okay. Next thing you'll find in the middle is your spacer, and the spatial control. Okay. Keep those aside. Another note, sometimes if you hear a little clicking, what you're hearing is this. Okay? Just means you have to tighten the bolts down just a hair. Not too tight, not too soft. You'll find the sweet spot, but that's where that little click comes from. Okay, now we turn it over, and it's the same thing. It just pops out. Nice and easy because you can grab the gear, pop it right out. Okay? Put that piece there, and then you have the other half of your rim there. Now, we're left with a tube and a tire. Okay? I like to deflate the tube as much as I can. Pull that out. Give it a squeeze and take it down a little more. Okay, that's perfect. And now you're left with your tube and your tire separated, your wheel fully disassembled. So at this point, you would either change out your tire or you would change out your tube. Now we do the whole process in reverse. To put it back in, we tuck the tube into the tire. Roughly, we just want to get it in there. A couple big points. One tip I like to do is I like to put the valve cap wherever the PSI ratings are on the tire, because that's usually when you're looking at the cap, and so that's where you want to be with that. And also, this is a 45-degree stem. I mean a 90-degree stem, 45? Not straight. Anyway, you want the stem to be pointed out. So these tires are directional, okay? You see the V goes this way. So this is a rear tire, it goes forward like this. So that means that that valve has to be pointed outwards like this, not inwards like this towards the gear. Has to be outwards. So that's where you would start. Find the PSI ratings, tuck it in there first with your valve pointed out. And just tuck it in. Again, this is rough. You don't have to be too fancy with this right now. The tube will straighten itself out in a moment. I just kind of holding this valve here because location is important with that, because I like to keep it on the letters. Okay, and once you've got it tucked in there roughly like that, that's when you grab your compressor or air pump. Anything works. You don't need much at all. I'm just going to screw this on real quick. Okay. Once that's on, just put a little air in it, and what that's going to do is just push all the wrinkles out of the tire. We can make sure it's seated okay. Oops, turn it on. There's always something. I've had it unplugged for too long. It shut off automatically, so I have to plug it back in and take it out, turn it back on, and screw it back on again. These are great little tools, 35, 40 bucks. Fits in the backpack. Very nice tools to have. Just put a couple pounds in it just to straighten out that tire. That's all we need. Shut that off like a good boy. Okay, now you can see the tire is nicely seated in there. All the wrinkles are out. Your valve stem is pointed out according to your wheel tread, which goes this way. So this would be the outside, and your gear would be on the inside. Then the next thing we do is reassemble the rim. I like to go in with the rear first. So we would put the valve down. You'll see on the rim, there are two half circle grooves right here. That's to accept the valve stem. That's very important. So that's where you start. You put the groove right to your valve stem, and then just push down from there. Very, very, very simple. On top of that, your star fits into the center on your holes. Again, very simple. I'll flip it over and do the same. You can take your star out. You can leave your star in. It doesn't matter. But the big thing is that you find that half moon groove, line it up with your valve stem, start there by pushing down, and then go the rest of the way around it. Okay? Give everything a good push and a good squeeze. Make sure your valve stem isn't pinched or anything. Everybody's looking good. And, oops, nope, we're not. See that? Forgot a step. Pull these back out. And put that spacer back in there. Okay, the spacer control, and then the spacer, then the star, then your lug nuts. Tighten those. I like to tighten them across in a pattern like this. I like to do them twice. Get them started, get them all started, then bring them down, and then cinch them. Okay, we've got them all started after this one. Now we go around and bring them right down. Okay, then we do one last trip around the world with a little bit of a turn, just to snug those up. And that's all she wrote. Now back to the board. Okay, now we're back to the board. We have our belt here hanging. Come on with the wheel. Now what you do is start the belt up top here by just getting it over, and we're going to spin it forward while pushing the wheel in. Just keeping an eye on that belt. As you spin it, it'll pick it up and push in, and there it goes. Give it a spin and a tap and a spin and a tap and a spin and a tap, and you're in. Then we add the lug nut. Now I'll grab my pump again. And my tire cap. And we'll pump that right up. These street tires, I believe I'm running them at 27, so I set my pump at 27 and let it run, and that's it. Okay, now let's assume that's up to 27. Place your tire cap, valve stem cap, and you are completed. You have now changed a tire or a tube on an Endeavor S or an Endeavor Pro. So that concludes the tutorial on how to change a tire or a tube on Endeavor S or Endeavor Pro. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. We will answer them as soon as possible. Again, this is a pretty easy tutorial. The front wheel is the same thing. It's just even easier because you don't have to deal with the belt. So instead of taking you 5 minutes, it can take you 3. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'm Russ Titonia from Propel's Virtual Garage, and we'll see you next episode. Ride hard, ride safe, ride Propel.